Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of The Fad Show. So on this week's episode, I'm going to give a 6-month review of my 2002 EP3 Civic Si. So like the last review I did of my All-Track, I'm going to talk about how the car has been for me so far as reliability goes, what I've used it for, and then I'm going to talk about the things I like about the car, things I dislike about the car, some driving dynamics, and then talk about what my plan is going forward with the car. So like I said at the beginning, it's been about 6 months with the car, put just about 8,000 miles on it, and primarily it's just been used for daily driving, commuting duties. For a while I was driving it every day when I was working a bunch. Then my girlfriend had an issue with her Cayenne that took it off the road for about 2 months, where she daily drove it every day and I was daily driving the All-Track. And now I'm back to basically going back and forth between this and the All-Track, daily driving it. And it's been great for that, and had very minor issues with it. If you saw my video of troubleshooting why the car wouldn't start, I had an issue right after I got it where the car wouldn't start. And it ended up just being the clutch safety switch that went out, which is just like a $7 piece of plastic on Amazon to fix that. Unfortunately, I thought it was a starter and went ahead and replaced the starter, trying to correct that. I guess I got a new starter out of the deal. Ended up not really being that big of a deal. And other than that, I've just done my normal maintenance items on as far as a tune-up, oil changes, transmission fluid flush, all the usual stuff I do with my cars. So I have very minimal money into the car. I think I got a really good deal for this car. I paid $4,000 for it. I have no idea what it's worth, but I've only put like $200 or $300 into it to drive it 8,000 miles, which I think is pretty awesome. I mean, I can't really think of a more reliable commuter car that you could buy for that money and put so little into it. So the things I dislike about this car, I mean, really there's not a ton. Like, I'm actually really impressed with the quality of this car for a 20-year-old car. Like, I kind of keep comparing it to my Mark IV Golfs and Jettas that I've had. And the interior of this is just like amazing for 20 years. Like the way it's aged, like there's like the tiniest bit of wear. Like the seat has a little bit of discoloration, and there's like one of the vents that's come detached or broken off inside, but other than that, like all the plastic is intact, where every 20-year-old Volkswagen I've had, the plastic is just breaking and falling apart everywhere. So I'm pretty impressed with the quality. I guess I would say like my only complaint is when I drive my 2019 Golf All-Track for like a month or a few weeks, and then I get back in this car, I kind of get used to like the modern like comforts or whatever. Like, obviously the stereo is way nicer in that car. There's way less road noise. There's way less wind noise. The seats are more comfortable. Well, these seats are pretty good, but it just is a more luxurious feel. So when I get in this car for the first few days, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to commute this. It's kind of too low rent for me. But then after I drive it for a few days, I kind of forget about that, and I just get used to it, and it is perfectly fine. I think that's really the only gripe I have with this car. I think that when analyzing the things I dislike about the car, I kind of have to keep in mind the cost of the car and what I'm using it for, and the fact that this is $4,000. I can't really complain about the interior fit and finish of it, because it's a $4,000 car, and honestly it's probably pretty nice for a $4,000 car. So that's pretty much the only real negative gripe I have about it. I guess if I could say one more thing is, again, when I come from the All-Track that has LED headlights, when I'm driving at night, I'm like, and I get back in this car, I feel like I can't see anything with the halogens. But like I said before, after a few days, you just kind of get used to it and revert back to the way it used to be. So that's pretty much it for the dislikes. It's pretty short list. It's been a pretty good car to me so far. So then going on to the things I like about this car, well, honestly, it's doing the commuting duties absolutely perfect. And if I had to pick one thing I like about it, it's just like, it's a really good commuter. You get 30 miles to the gallon, it takes regular gas, it's pretty comfortable. I mean, it's obviously not as quiet as a brand new car, but it's relatively quiet and relatively comfortable. The open intake on it is a little bit loud when you ramp on it, but at lower RPM you don't even notice it. It has an aux input, so I can hook up my iPhone and listen to podcasts while I drive to work. And then I just like absolutely love hot hatches for driving around town. I don't really know if this car is considered a hot hatch. It might be a lukewarm hatch. But when you're just like driving around the city here in Fort Worth, Texas, where I live, and you can just like dart in and out of lanes and in between traffic just because you kind of have like that little bit of like positive driving dynamics, but you also have like the short wheelbase, so you don't need much room to dart in and out. So, I mean, I really like commuting to work in it. I like driving around the city, and I just love having a shitbox car as my daily driver. I kind of feel bad calling this car a shitbox because it's actually in like immaculate shape for a 20-year-old car, but I like having a car that I can park next to someone and it already has a dent, so I don't care if someone door dings me, or here in Texas where we get hail all the time, if I go to work and I don't check the weather, if there's going to be a hailstorm, I don't have to worry about it because if this car got hail damage, I don't care. So yeah, for just like basic commuting, daily driving duties, having a car that you respect, but you don't like lust after, like my M5, if I took it to work and it was gonna hail, like I think I would cry while I'm at work, or this car, I would just be like, whatever. So that's probably what I like about it the most. It's definitely kind of replaced the Mark IV for what I use the Mark IV TDI for. I mean, honestly, if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably pick the Mark IV TDI. This is 1,000 times better built car, but I kind of just like the character of the Mark IV TDI. I like having the low end diesel torque. I kind of like my car to sound like a farm tractor and the clattery old diesel. Because I grew up with my dad always driving diesel trucks, so it's kind of just a nostalgic thing. And that was kind of like the first car where I really like learned to work on cars. It was my very first Mark IV TDI I have. So yeah, I think if I had to choose between the two, I'd pick that, but this car kind of has picked up and replaced that in the daily driving duties. And like I said, it's honestly probably a better built car than a Mark IV Volkswagen. So those are the things I like about it. I mean, I've only had the car 6 months, so there's not a ton that I could say about it yet. And also, I really think that I just have to review it based on the fact that it's a $4,000 car. And by a $4,000, or any metric for a $4,000 car, I think this would be pretty outstanding. But with that, let's take it for a quick drive on the Fad Show Proving Grounds. I'll talk about the driving dynamics. There's not much to say other than what I've already said, but nevertheless, let's get to it. So my first impression when I got this car is, oh my God, is it slow? And that remains relatively true, but I think I'll change it from, oh my God, is it slow, to it's just kind of slow. Because when I first got this car, I came from driving turbocharged cars and cars with larger displacement, and I just wasn't revving the car out. I kind of forgot that these Honda, whatever, VTECs make all their power up high. So I was kind of just lugging, or not lugging the engine, but I wasn't revving it out to the full extent that was possible. And it definitely is a little bit more peppy when you know to do that. I will say the intake that's on this car, it does sound really good when you do that. I'm not completely torn on the intake. I was kind of trying to find a stock air box for it, but I haven't really had any luck trying to find one. And yeah, I like the sound of it. It probably doesn't help with performance at all. Just based on the location at the back of the engine bay, it's probably more of a hot air intake. It does have like the opening in the fender well there. But yeah, so it's definitely not a fast car, but it's definitely adequate for your daily driving duties. And when I first got it, I also thought this console mounted shifter was so weird, but you kind of get used to it, and it's actually kind of nice when you're doing spirited driving, just having the shifter kind of closer at hand. You don't have to reach as far away from the steering wheel, so that's kind of nice. I guess I can understand now why people with race cars make those super long gear shift levers. Alright, we're approaching the Fad Show Proving Grounds, and honestly, I haven't really driven this car on a twisty road since I got it, just because I've been using it for commuting duties. So it'll be a real-time update of how I feel about it. Yeah, on these like slower twisty roads like 0 to 40, I love the gear ratio, or I don't feel like there's any takeaway from the loss of power or whatever, because you have enough power for this road. The one thing I do like about this car, it handles really good, even with these eco tires on it. Sorry, the one thing I do really like about this car, I just sucked it up right there, but it is possible to heel toe in it, which in the Volkswagen's not possible, and I just screwed that one up too. I'm not very good at that. But yeah, there I was in the wrong gear and too low RPM and I had no power, but it's really fun to drive. Like, honestly, I cannot think of a better car you can get for $4,000 than this. It's super fun to drive, it's a hatchback, it's practical, it's relatively quick, it's adequate for daily driving. Like, at least they have like the short ratios that kind of help you out in those like 0 to 40, 0 to 50 scenarios. Obviously on the highway you don't have much power, passing power, but yeah, I'm pretty impressed with this car. This is the first time I've taken it on a twisty road, and I feel like maybe I should more often. That's where I used to take my KM, my 911 when I want to go on a short, fun drive that's not too far from my house. But yeah, that is it's got really good balance, and it's actually really capable for this cheap and small of a car this is. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a very good driver, so I feel like I never know what to talk about as far as the driving dynamics go, but it put a smile on my face, and that's all that matters, right? So now that we've established that, let's talk about what I want to do with the car going forward. So now that I provided a terrible automotive journalist rendition of what it's like to drive this car, let's talk about what I want to do with it going forward. And I'll be completely honest, over the last few weeks I was like kind of torn with, or kind of entertaining the idea of selling this car. I've got to the point, I bought 2 cars this week, so I've got to the point where I'm at 7 cars again, and I just feel like kind of overwhelmed with the amount of cars I have. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll sell the EP3 Civic because it's ready to go, and I'll just daily drive the All-Track. But then I'm like, the car's only worth $4,000, and it puts a smile on my face. Like, that smile is worth $4,000 to me. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep daily driving it for a while, and then maybe move some other cars. My original plan was to turn this into a track car, just as a treat, a cheap car to go and learn track driving, because I've never done any sort of track driving before. So I don't really know. But while I can't make up my mind, I think I'm just gonna keep it because I really like it. Every time I drive it, it puts a smile on my face, and I like it. You know, like I said before, the first time I get in this car after the All-Track and I'm just using it for daily driver duties, I'm like, this isn't as nice. But then after 2 days of driving and I forget about it and just love this damn thing. This is like the best like cheap car purchase I've ever made. I mean, I guess my like Mark IVs were cheap, but they required a lot of work to get them up to snuff, where this one I've literally changed one little plastic piece and the oil on it and spark plugs, and that's it. And every Mark IV I've had, I felt like it was falling apart. In this car, I feel like it just wants to keep going. So I hope you guys liked this video, and as always, if you really liked it, like and subscribe. Stay tuned for next time. Sorry I've been slacking on videos lately. I've been traveling, and I'm not really sure what I want to do as far as content coming forward. I'm still waiting on the damn title for the M5, so I haven't really wanted to start working on that until I get that whole issue resolved. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.